Hey, this is AEE bringing you the latest episode of The Accelerator. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the latest in education news.
Hello again, AEE family. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Accelerator podcast. My name is Chris, and I'll be hosting the podcast today. Joining me as co-host, we have Amy Nadu. She's our ECD coordinator, and we're very lucky and privileged to have her joining us today.
Excited to be here.
Fantastic. We also have the wonderful Rachel Scullard joining us today. Rachel is the principal of Treasure Tots in Alberton, and she's an expert in all things young kids, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolute pleasure to join you today.
Fantastic. Rachel, for those of us who don't know you or haven't met you, tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, where you are, what you do.
Okay, perfect. So I am based in Alberton. I am the principal for Treasure Tots Preschool. So we have a beautiful preschool here. I'm also a mom of 2 boys. My hubby is also in education. So yeah, education is really our life, and we just really focus on doing what we can to serve the kiddies and just to have an awesome family time at the same time.
Fantastic. Love it. Right. Well, I think we can just jump straight into it. First things first, we want to touch on a lot of the emotional things that come with getting young children ready for a new year, a new experience. You know, a lot of kids maybe aren't sure, or some of them are a bit too overexcited, whatever the case is. What are some, in your experience, what are some of the emotional challenges parents might see with young learners going into a new year of school?
So generally, I think, just as you've said already, it's normally either the overexcitement or the super anxious. So you get every child is unique, every child is different, and they respond differently to the first day of school and something new. So generally, you'll get those 2 types, either anxious or super excited, and both sides, I think we've already seen this year as well. So it depends on the child themselves. There's some that have never been to school before, so that's a whole new area, something totally different from them. And there's some that have been to school, but obviously had December, it's been a long holiday break, so they've also got that little bit of anxiety coming in. So it just depends on the child themselves as well. There's some children that are really academically strong, but emotionally, they just take a little bit longer just to get used to their new environment, something different, new teacher, new face. So we see a very different children coming into the schools and children starting. It depends on the child themselves as well.
Okay, cool. And if I was a parent and I had a kid or a child going to school and they were nervous, they were jittery, anxious, what is something I could do to sort of ease them into the new school year?
I think the main thing for me that I always encourage parents with is just to make sure you've got a structure in place, a routine in place, something children, they feel safe with routines. They feel safe in obviously their home environment with mommy and daddy. They feel safe in that. So now what you got to do is create that same safety, that feeling of safety as they come into a new environment. So the main thing for me is to have a good routine, have a good structure, and also as a parent yourself, be very confident in who you're trusting. So when you come to, say, for example, the preschool or grade 1, or when you start at a school, be very confident with your little one and be like, we are so excited. These teachers are the best teachers. You're going to learn so much. So as a parent, you're already giving them that feeling of safety and security as they're going into the new environment. So that's the main thing. And then obviously for me, I'm quite a spontaneous, flexible kind of person that loves to do things just on the go, And what I've realized with children is they don't like that. They like to know, they like to be predictable. So if you're getting up for school in the morning and you're having a certain breakfast, it may even mean we have cereal on school days and we have toast on the weekends. It just depends. So all of that you try and put in with your routine as well. It just encourages them just to not feel so nervous and just feel excited about going into something new because their parents are sorted with it too.
Okay, great. Yeah, I suppose it's children do as they see. So having that positivity and that sort of energy about you as you're taking them into school was really infectious for a lot of the young learners. And I suppose it goes a long way in building a positive mindset as well, which is, I imagine, what really helps a lot of kids get through any anxieties or fears they sort of have.
Yes, I don't know if you've ever seen, like, there's all the cute little TikTok videos or the different videos that you can watch of parents that actually, they every morning they've got their little one, and even like it starts at like 2 years old or even older, and on their way to school they got the video, and the little one's repeating what mommy and daddy's saying, like, I am strong, I am brave, I am excited to be at school, I'm going to do well. So I think all of that also goes a long way in creating a positive attitude in your little one too. If you instill that from home already. So on the way to school, oh, what are you excited about school today? Or what are you looking forward to? Or how do you think you can be kind to your friend today? Something that builds already that positive impact, and they're already prepared for that. And then as they go forward, they're like excited, they're confident in themselves as well. And that builds their positiveness as well and their self-esteem.
And in your experience, do you often find that that's something that a lot of parents put into practice, or maybe some parents struggle with?
I think, if I'm honest, I think it's very difficult being a parent, and I think sometimes we're very hard on ourselves, or we kind of tend to give up before we've started. And one thing I've noticed as a parent is you have to be consistent. So I try and encourage all the parents that come in, as difficult as it is, try and be consistent in the little things, and then all the rest kind of flows out from that. You know, if you've got a hectic job or something that's crazy going on, sometimes you tend to like rush to school and rush out, whereas the little one is like, oh, we haven't done this, so we haven't done that. So it's just about being consistent. But I do find also with our lives, we have to prioritize what we do with our kids in the morning routine. And then obviously when you get to work, you can shuffle things around as you need, but kind of make that a priority. Then that helps with everything. I think it's a general concern or a problem that every parent struggles with. I don't think it's something that's odd. Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's, as parents, I imagine it's you get into these sort of situations where you maybe feel, you're not doing what's best or what's right, but it's definitely reassuring to know that it's a struggle that everybody goes through at some point. And I think really all we can do in a situation like that is our best, as they say. Yeah. So talking about moving on from a lot of the emotional aspect of this process, I wanted to talk about any sort of advice you had for parents of a practical nature, more so specifically with things like organizing school supplies and uniforms and that sort of thing. Is there any sort of structure that parents can build that would assist with this process?
Yes, I think there's many ideas that you can do when you're preparing for your stationery and uniforms, all the practical things. I know generally it's a little bit of a habit to kind of get to December and then everyone is like goes into panic mode of like, oh, the new year's starting, we need to get stationery, we need to get uniform. So my advice from a practical side with uniform is always buy bigger, because these little ones, they surprise you. They grow super fast. So I think the things that you can buy in advance, it's always good to try and structure it throughout the year. But obviously there's some things that you're going to have to leave to the last minute to get sorted. When it comes to stationery, I like to always get the little ones involved. So if they're excited about their stationery, you find something throughout the year and then you think, oh, great, that'll be awesome. It also takes the load off as a parent. You don't get to the end of the year and then it's like a huge stationery list that you've got to like buy for your little one. So if you do it in between the year and then you have a look at the different things that you can find, you can even speak to the school and ask them, oh, have you got a stationery list? And then you prepare yourself in advance as well. But I always tell parents, there's always going to be specials. There's always going to be something that you can find, something that will work as well. So not to panic about it. The main thing is just to try and keep everything when it comes to schools in a calm manner. Then your little one is also confident. Mommy and daddy's got it. They got it handled. Then it works from there.
Oh, fantastic. Amy, I want to throw the ball over to you at this point. I'm sure with your experience in ECD and having worked with a lot of younger children and that sort of thing, you can really see I imagine you see the impact that that sort of organization has for kids in the classroom as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I echo what Rachel has mentioned about keeping stability or maintaining stability within your preschool environment. And what's also important is for parents to maintain their relationship with the school as well. Because children thrive on connection. Children thrive on emotion as well. So they sense and they pick up on emotion. So maintaining that relationship with teachers, with principals, making sure that parents are on the same page, constantly communicate to meet the child at their needs is a remarkable tool to get the child to thrive in their environment. Yes, a warm environment is fantastic. Adapting your environment is fantastic. But emotional regulation also stems from secure relationships. And I think that when parents partner with teachers in an effective way, we can surely see our children thrive.
Fantastic. I love to hear it. Well, I'm glad you both spoke on stability and consistency, because the next thing I wanted to tackle was talking about how, as a parent, you can build a consistent daily schedule that is not only beneficial for us, but also our children as well. Rachel, I don't know if you have any insights into that.
I think, so I would agree with that. Also, what Amy is saying, I mean, I think that's awesome. Even the relationship with the teacher. And I also find with the teacher, when it comes to your home routine, remember, every child is different. So they also have awesome ideas, something that they picked up maybe that works, and they'll also give you ideas with that as well. But my main ones that I really like to use is like visual charts, something that they can practically see and do. Children, a lot of them are visual learners. They want to see, okay, I've brushed my teeth, for example. I've put my clothes away. I've sorted my homework. So something visual, like a little chart at home that encourages them in the morning to keep that routine. And then obviously as a parent, you go by time. You know, obviously depending on what age they are, you've got different tasks that they'll complete. But something like that, something visual that they can do at home, something like even something as simple as a special route into school that they use, a special song on the way to school, anything to do with that also just creates that stability as well, and also helps parents to keep on track. It also helps us just to keep everything in line so that we know on a school day this is what we're doing, and then after that then we can chill on the weekends.
Fantastic. So at this point as a parent, we've organized our school supplies, we've got our daily schedule, we've organized everything to the best of our abilities. And then what comes next for a lot of these younger kids, and this was my favorite part of the schooling experience, lunchtime. What, as a parent, what sort of things can I provide my children with to ensure they're getting the energy they need, getting the sustenance they need throughout the day? What kind of things can I provide them with that are going to get them through the day?
I think for me, you've always got your staple, which is your sandwich, something that just starts off your lunch nicely. But then there are so many creative ideas of different school lunches that you can look into. I love to also try and keep up to date. So you can go on like a Pinterest, even if you Google something, there's such nice ideas for lunches. So I always say you try and have a good mix. Like you always have something like a yogurt, something like a carrot sticks, cucumbers. There's loads of ideas that you can put into lunches, but you want something also that's not going to be a pain for the child to eat, something that's going to be also to be careful not to put in so much that the little one's like overwhelmed when they get to lunchtime. They don't know what to eat. So something fun, something that they enjoy. We tend to stay away from like the sweets and the chocolates because it's not really going to help them in terms of the academics. Like I think Fridays are awesome to have like a treat day, but I think in your lunches, as long as you've got a balance of the fruit and the veggies and a nice stable sandwich, something that they enjoy, something that they can really get their teeth into, you can kind of experiment a little bit as well. Sometimes I like to put something different in my son's lunchbox. He's in grade 2, and then he'll come home and he'll be like, oh, I loved that. That was something like special as well. So I think it's more the effort and also how you put the things in. You can do a lot with just the simple food sources that you have, but it's the effort also of making them something special when they open, like you talk about lunchtimes being a favorite for little ones. I think that's like awesome when they open their lunchbox and they're like, wow, look what mommy's packed me. Look what daddy's packed me. So anything like that. But I tend to stick to easy finger food, something that's going to be filling, but also something that's going to be nutritious also for their mind as well.
Fantastic. Love to hear it. I want to move on to talk about setting up a positive home environment. We've spoken a lot about the things we can do with our kids or what we can send to school with them to elevate their experience. But I think it's also important we tackle the topic of things we can do in the home space. And at this point, I want to again throw the ball over to Amy. Amy, I'm sure you've seen with a lot of kids and parents and the interaction they have at home, the kind of things that parents can do to benefit kids. I don't know if there's anything like that you could share with us.
I also echo what Rachel has mentioned earlier, is to keep a good routine. And also touching on the visual schedule as well. Children thrive on a visual appeal, and also attach that to their interests. So for example, if you are creating a visual schedule and if they enjoy cars, put a little car or a little car theme activity for them to complete. Or if they're into dolls or Barbies, follow the theme, and to also create a reward at the end of the day as well. I find that children thrive on affirmation and rewards. So they want to see the end result. Yes, they're very interested in the process, but they love to see the end result. So when you are sticking to a routine, what's advisable is that once they've completed a task for the day, give them a reward that they might be interested in. Maybe an extra tab of pudding for dessert, or a little sweetie, or maybe a little bit of extra time with mom and dad. And I think that is so crucial for them, to actually get them to want to complete tasks and to want to stay within their routine. Another useful tool is to create a balance as well. Spend time with them, in the things that they enjoy. Spend time with them in the outdoors as well. And to maintain thankfulness. What's amazing about little children is that they cling on to your every word. And when affirming thankful points come or emanate from their parents, it's amazing how it manifests in the school environment. So before you go to bed at night, maybe read them a little story, talk to them about what they're thankful for, about who they're thankful for, and that could prove really beneficial.
Fantastic. Lovely. Yeah, no, just from a personal perspective as well, I also have great memories of my parents sitting down and doing my goal setting and homework with me. And at the end of it all, there was always a bit of a family moment, and we'd all watch a favorite movie or show together. And that was how they rewarded me for my work. So I can definitely echo that sentiment for sure. Rachel, swinging back over to you, when it comes to children sitting down, doing their homework, studying, things of that nature, as a parent, how can I build a better environment, or just a good environment for children to do that sort of thing in?
Okay, so I think as parents, for me, I find that children, they love stability, they love rewards. I'll echo what Amy says, that also is something really nice that they can have a reward, a visual something. But I think it's also important that they have a organized and a set space. I'm sure if you look up, even with ACE, they've got the beautiful offices, and I try and do a similar thing even at home with my little one. For homework, he's got his own space, something that's neat, that's organized, that they can be proud of, but a space where they can actually take their work and actually enjoy doing it. And then it's something that doesn't like have the toys from the previous night, or it's not mixed with your kitchen table. It's a dedicated space where they really feel like they've got a time where they can actually sit down and also have your attention as well. I think that's so important. What Amy said about stories, I think even with the homework and that, sometimes we tend to go and sit over there and do your homework, and then you don't actually get involved. So it's even to have the space set up, to have the little, it doesn't have to be a massive space. I'm not talking like a whole room. For example, you might not be able to put a whole new learning center in your house, but just a little dedicated space somewhere there where you can actually sit with your child and say, okay, let's read this portion. What did you learn from this? Or what do you have in your homework today? Oh, fantastic. Let's get some stickers. Let's do something different. Let's give feedback to the teachers. Just like Amy was saying earlier, even with homework, it's nice if a teacher opens the homework diary and here you've written, oh, we enjoyed doing the homework together and we spoke about this story or something. So you can also make it very practical in your house, but also just have that relationship and build with them as well as you're doing it with them in the house.
Chris, can I just touch on what Rachel just mentioned?
Please do.
One of my very fond memories of being a child is when my parents affirmed my efforts. I remember creating a very silly picture for my mother, and it was not my best picture. The colors were off the lines, and I didn't really write my name very well. But recently, visiting her about a few weeks ago, I opened the album that she has, and she still has that photo. She still has that picture. And I remember them putting it up on the fridge or putting them up on the walls. And I've learned that teaching little children as well, avoid asking your child, what is that? When they present a picture to you or a little craft to you. Rather ask them or say to them, that is really interesting. Can you tell me more about it? And you would almost see the glitter in their eyes or the spark in their countenance when you affirm what they do. And sometimes I feel that we put very adult expectations on them in achieving a task, but affirming the little things along the way, you'd be amazed at what you see as you continue to be consistent with that.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it's just following on from what you've just said, Amy. I think it's also important that we choose what we say carefully, and following on with the example you gave, it's not so much what is that, it's that, wow, my child has created something wonderful. Let's explore that with them. Tell me about it. I want to get into the corners of your mind and really understand what you were thinking with this. And I think that goes a long way in helping kids wanting to keep developing a relationship with you and bringing you things and looking towards you for affirmation. And I think that's a really strong thing we should be developing with our kids. Absolutely. Yeah. On that note, we've spoken a lot about periods of learning at school, coming home, homework, that sort of thing. I want to turn our attention to after all that. It's the evening, perhaps we've had supper already, that sort of thing. What now, as a parent, what activities can I explore that will enable me to engage with my children, perhaps keep them in a learning space, activities that help them educate themselves, or activities we can do with them that allow us to educate them?
I think I'm going to go back to where we kind of like when we grew up, and maybe some people will say, oh, it's old fashioned or something. But for me, I tend to go back to, you can't go wrong with a good old fashioned game. Something different with your little one. I mean, you can do it even from 3-4 years old up, all the way up into when they get into big school, and they enjoy that. And I feel like just having that one-on-one time, just as Amy mentioned earlier, but also just to take out a game, do something special, something that's got something in it, especially like with my little ones, they love to play like that Ludo game. And now they got no idea that it's got the maths and it's got the counting and it's got all the different strategies that they will need for later in life. For them, it's a game. It's fun. It's exciting. And mommy and daddy have put down the phones and they've sat at the table and they've taken the time to actually say, let's play a game. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy time together. I think Even the reading is super important. Also, how we tell stories. I think sometimes as adults, we tend to rush through the stories because now we've got also another million things on our minds that we need to get done for the evening. So it's just really taking the time to also read to your little one and involve them in it. Like I often find my younger one loves to talk as I do. So he will have a million questions about everything. And sometimes you just actually have to sit and listen and just learn your child, see what they're interested in, like just as we spoke about earlier, but also take that time out just to do something that we wouldn't necessarily think of these days. I tend to stay away from the screens as much as possible, especially when you're getting the bedtime routine and everything sorted. But there still should be, like, maybe I would say between half an hour and 40 minutes you should be able to put aside to just to spend with your child and just have a good giggle, have fun with them, play a game, read a book, do something that's totally different, go outdoors. My oldest one is into soccer. So if you just pick up a soccer ball, you're already in a soccer match, whether you're planning on it or not. You will have you outside playing. So all of those things you can also do just to engage and spend time with your little one too. It's really important. And they love that time. That's the time that they remember. Like we're so fond of things that we did with our parents. That's what they tell their friends at school. Oh, mommy played soccer with me yesterday and I beat her like 10-0. Or, I beat mommy at Monopoly, or I played Ludo and I did well, So all of those things, that's what really counts to children. And for me, I always say, try and prioritize those 30 minutes because it goes so quick. The time goes fast. So if you can prioritize that, then everything else you can get done once they go to sleep as well. So.
Great, fantastic. There's one last thing I wanted to touch on, and this has been a topic that I think parents have been talking about since the invention of the screen. And I look to both you, Amy, and you as well, Rachel, and that's managing screen time as a parent. I think that's something that every parent worries about. I think it's something that even adults struggle with, not just children. But what can I do as a parent to help my child manage their screen time?
I think there's no right or wrong. I think as parents, even as educators, I think we're all aware that screen time, like for a long time, is unhealthy. So even for the little ones, but they do live in an instant world. We live in a world where everything changes to screens. I mean, even if you go into restaurants now, you order on screens. So we do have to see it as a reality, but I think, like you say, we need to work out what works best for our children. Some children can handle a 30 minutes of screen time. Some children can't handle more than 10 minutes because then they'll be like calling up the walls for the rest of the evening. So you also have to see what your little one can manage. But I think for me, the main thing is to really find like a low stimulating programs, like programs that is helpful, that are educational, and then also limited to, remember, we've only got one episode of this. Then we're going to do something else, like run around outside. Then we're going to go somewhere else. So I think it's also balancing it and allowing your children to understand. Even my older one, he's at a grade 2 level, but he's already understanding that he can't sit and play FIFA for like 3 hours. He realizes that, he can have 2 matches and then he needs to get up, he needs to run around, he needs to stretch, he needs to do something different. But I think as parents, sometimes, look, we are busy. We have busy lives. So I'm not saying that you should hate the screen either. You can find beautiful games. You can find interactive things. Obviously, you need to look at safety and make sure you know exactly what your child is doing. Especially when they're younger, it's nice to be interactive with them on the screen as well. But for me, also, the most important thing is to try and at least be off the screens an hour before bedtime, because that's where you're going to see that you've given them time to then actually come down from that excitement, that hyperness, and they've got it out of their system before they sleep. Then you're guaranteeing that they're having a good sleep as well. And there's also alternatives to screens. I did speak to one of our parents recently, and she's really into the study of how screens affect little ones. And there's also alternatives that you can use. You can use audiobooks. I think everybody has got Spotify these days. So you can always look up something on Spotify, an audiobook, and then it also encourages their listening skills, but then they're not necessarily staring at a screen. They can be playing in their room, doing something else, getting the Lego out. So I think it's just about having a balance. I'm not saying no screens, because I think every parent knows that there are some really useful things that the screens teach us. But it's just about having the right balance at home and making sure the little one winds down before bedtime. That's the main thing.
Yeah, excellent. At this point, is there anything else, any other piece of advice that either you, Amy, or yourself, Rachel, would like to give parents with younger kids going into a new learning experience?
I think just from my side, I think give yourself grace. Remember, not every parent is perfect, and tomorrow is always another day to get it right. So be consistent, give yourself grace, ask for help, get involved with the teachers. I think that's a huge aspect. Try and, teachers actually enjoy, especially even on this side, we've got a very open door policy. They enjoy getting to know the parents. They enjoy getting to know what the family is like. So get them involved in the journey, ask for help, be excited about things, be enthusiastic. So whatever you do portrays down to your little one as well. So I think if you're excited and you're trusting the school and you're getting involved in all the activities as much as you can, I think that's the main thing. But just to, give yourself a little bit of grace. We're all learning, so we can all learn from each other as well.
Yeah, exactly. If there's one thing I can add to that, it's that parenting is not a science. It's always something that's going to be a learning experience for many, many years to come, I'm sure. And as someone who's not a parent, I can still see that it's something that, we can only put our best foot forward about and really just do what we feel is right. Folks, at this point, I just want to say thank you for joining us. It's been wonderful having you both here, chatting to us about getting younger kids ready for new learning experiences and school years ahead. For those of you watching at home, thank you again for joining us. My name is Chris Ferns, and I've been the host of this episode of The Accelerator. And if you'd like to know more about us and how we can help your young kids get started learning, you can contact us at www.aegroup.co.za or on 087 820 4858. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you love what you've heard, make sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube to get the latest scoop on everything education.